There's a lot of kids out there who need your help, and a donation to St. Jude could potentially save them. Link to my fundraiser is in the description. I'm not going to bother starting this video on a joke. I'm just going to do what I've always done and just give you more of the content you came here for. So to everyone who decided to check out my channel, either years ago or just recently, I dedicate this one to you. "10 years ever since the beginning of this channel." That is frightening to think about, but at the same time, amazing. Even before the start of this channel, I was always a pretty frequent YouTube viewer, starting out by mostly viewing episodes of shows I really liked growing up, before becoming enamored with the type of content that just everyday people were putting out. I was just so charmed by the dedication and personality put into them that I wanted to give it a go someday, even going as far as to imitate the style of a few of these in PowerPoint presentations. Yes, that was a thing I did. That only went up further when I saw some people making countdowns around 2011. I not only found these to be some of the most fun videos to watch, but it was cool seeing people express their own opinions in this format. I wouldn't get in on it until summer of 2013, and while this journey has certainly had its lows, I honestly view it as a big personal journey to not only develop more of my own opinions, but generally become a better person. Doing these videos has taught me more about what being mature and being more part of the world actually means, and without this, I'm not sure where my path would have gone. This hobby has also led to me doing so many things my 16-year-old self could only dream of doing, like meeting bigger YouTubers I've grown attached to over the years, on top of voice actors and game directors, as well as discovering how deep my love for our franchise truly was, and how much I love other franchises I'm not sure how else I would have discovered. But above all else, this YouTube journey has led to me meeting some wonderful new friends. Thinking about all that has happened within that time span makes me feel nostalgic and even a little emotional. So I thought about taking a trip down memory lane and tell you about the videos on this channel I'm personally most proud of. I could just use this to promote all of my newer stuff, because just how much it represents who I truly am now much better, but I'd rather play around with my criterion a little bit, thinking back to personal memories surrounding the video at the time of its release, and how much fun I had making it. It's mostly to give some of my older work their dues, even if a large number of them have aged poorly at best. I mean, missteps in videos can be excellent teachers. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I wanted to find as many opportunities to talk about work from my early days of 2013 and 2014, but that's generally hard to do. Not necessarily because of how they aged, but let's just say I would not blame those who think they weren't good to begin with. However, there are still plenty of fond memories I had of top 10 Mario Kart 8 tracks. I was in love with the base version of Mario Kart 8 at the time, and wanted to express my love for it in some form. I had a really fun time just talking about how wildly creative and fun these tracks are, and even with not every joke hitting its mark, with some being borderline derivative, it's an old me thing, I feel like this was an early example of my own sense of humor at least showing itself. The joke with the eel and dolphin shoals still gets a chuckle out of me. But above all else, I am fond of this video because it served as a reminder that I could show my appreciation for something, even if something is skewed against it. You might notice that the countdown is split into two parts. This is because at the time, my channel had a copyright strike on it, preventing me from uploading videos over 15 minutes long. It was not only a time where YouTube's copyright policies became as broken and twisted as they are now, but it was also when any video with a trace of Nintendo stuff was at risk of Nintendo themselves taking it down. Even replays of Mario Kart 8 that you could upload from the game itself were not safe from them. It was really scary and maddening, and it's probably the biggest reason why there wasn't another big countdown from me for a while after this one, as well as some other things. But this just makes this one feel a little more special to me. It is absolutely a time capsule from back then, and not always in the best ways, but hey, old me did have his moments. I once had the idea to do a sort of boss battle marathon, which consisted of 4 separate countdowns, 3 of which would act as remakes to older videos. While the idea of them coming out after each other fell through, all 4 would eventually get made over the course of 3 years. That's what life and other video ideas do. I am proud of how all of them turned out, but over time, my appreciation for my favorite Final Bosses remake grew a lot higher than I expected it to. This was already a fun video to make, as it felt to do well and talk about entries not so commonly discussed, as well as talk about the more common choices, but there's a ton of little touches to the video that I am proud I added in. Things like linking this video to my favorite bosses and least favorite Final Bosses remakes, having the footage admit that I lost to Noah via a single punch to emphasize how hard that fight is, making a joke about the Devastation Ensemble by calling it what it is, and saying the full name of the wonderful arrow added it up and made the video feel more special. And in case you're wondering about that last one, no, it does not have any edits. And yes, it took me a lot of takes to get that right, to the point where it was a mouth exercise. Drink plenty of water. As a remake to one half of an old video, this completely one-ups the original in every sense with how my writing has improved, and as a video in general, it's just a really fun addition to the lineup that I enjoy coming back to a lot more than I thought I would. I'm glad I made a habit of making favorite games of the year videos as much as possible. I find them really useful to keep up with new releases, and I always find these kinds of discussions really fun. I wanted to choose an older one since I do have fond memories of making my games to play in 2015 and 2016 videos, even if not everything about them holds up, as well as my 2019 video since I was so excited to talk about the games on there, but the one I believe best represents my enjoyment of this type of video just so happens to be the easiest one I could have picked. I was looking forward to making this one because throughout the course of 2022, I was not only playing plenty of games I was having a great time with, but I was also constantly hearing about other games people I was following were playing. It got to a point where I was excited to see everyone's takes because aside from a couple common choices, each video would be a complete wild card. As for mine, I was having a blast talking about my picks with friends in places like Discord before ordering them and getting a script ready, and when I made that video, I truly did feel satisfied more so than the others. Whether it's a game I talked about prior or something new, it felt good to talk about them in a countdown format. That's not even taking into account the nice little cherries I put on top, like that joke about the cat from Stray game jumping, getting my friend Stephanie in for a callback gag, and straight up thinking back to my games I played in 2015 video, since I have referenced videos from that time frame very infrequently. In hindsight, there really isn't anything that overly extravagant about this particular countdown, but I believe everything my yearly takes on this topic do well is showcased as best as possible here. Also, this video is the debut of my channel's current visual design. I love how everything at the department turned out, and I'd like to give a quick shout out to all the people involved in this new style. Thank you all. One thing I kinda wish I did more frequently throughout these 10 years was collabs. Sure, I did show up in a video segment or two back then, but in terms of full-fledged collaborations with other people, I've only done 2. And it's here where I bring up the first one, the time my buddy AeroDragon and I talked about Kingdom Hearts. AeroDragon and I met relatively early in our channel's histories, and around 2017, after we really got to know each other, both of us doing a collaboration made perfect sense. And since we love doing countdowns about boss battles, and it was the time before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, everything just slid into place. I had a lot of fun with Arrow, sharing potential candidates for the video, and writing segments with them, especially considering we were covering as many Kingdom Hearts games that were released at the time as we could, barring Recoded, and most likely an obscure mobile game that not many people know about. We looked at all corners of the spectrum for some of the best bosses in the series, whether they be big narrative highlights, or just really fun to fight in general. With both of our writing styles, I'm not only really happy with this order, but I grew to appreciate a lot more about all the games included, Birth by Sleep especially. This was also a great learning experience on how fun, yet difficult collabs can be to make, and how the knowledge can be applied to solo projects. It's things like this that make me happy about how far I've come over the years, and happy that I met AeroDragon in general. Also, I highly recommend you check out his channel too. He's got some fun stuff. I'm glad I became more active on YouTube during my college years. Not only did my scheduling give me a lot more freedom with what I wanted to do, but my equipment was up to date, and I think my writing improved a lot from videos I made during my high school years. For the most part. But one of my fondest memories of it all was when my desire for a career in game design and development, and love for making videos, completely crossed paths. This was for a computer science photo and video competition my college was holding at the time, and given that this was college and thus more than likely needed to be a little more professional, I wanted to think of a way I could relate the video to my goals and what I was studying at the time. And once I got that down, writing was very easy from there. While I could have easily done something that would have been cool with the kids, I thought it would be more appropriate and fun to just generally be myself. Getting my points across within the given time was generally the main focus, but I feel like because there weren't that many personal rules, aside from the small handful the college requested, I could just speak literally whatever popped into my head at the moment, and maybe crack a small joke here and there. These were my general thoughts of all the amazing things you can do with game design and development that I learned from the classes I took, the games I played, and the videos I made in general. I view this video as a personal reflection on my chosen career direction, and it was nice to make something different from what I normally make, especially at the time. Even if I still got a very long way to go in order to achieve this goal, I'm still proud of the efforts that I have made, which is why I look back on this one so fondly. I never really considered making reviews the main focus of my channel when I started it, but now that I have, I think they help reinvigorate my countdown ideas a fair bit, but they also give me a reason to go back and play games from a while back, or in this case, an entire series. I really never got around to playing Sly Cooper until 2015 because of word of mouth, but I enjoyed the series back then, and reviewing the games in close tandem with one another gave me some newfound appreciation for them. It all came to fruition though, when I got to Thieves in Time. Thieves in Time was always my favorite Sly game, so I was the most excited to look at it for a review, even more so that the game in general had a ton to talk about, both in terms of the steps forward it took, and even some of the aspects that grew more and more contentious over time. Playing the previous 3 games beforehand really helped me realize just how much I loved this adventure, and how much Sans Serif were willing to honor what's been established, and how they wanted to build off it. From how I think Carmelita was heavily improved narratively here, especially compared to Sly 2, to what they did to the Ancestors, to keeping the best about exploring open-ended areas from Sly 2 and 3, and kind of paying tribute to Sly 1 in terms of the platforming, being less down-to-earth and all that, there was just so much I loved talking about. The Penelope betrayal segment is also a big highlight for me. Looking back through Sly 3 helped me form a point of view that leads me to see how Penelope herself would come to this conclusion, and that Sans Serif was onto something with this very bold decision. But simultaneously, I didn't exactly try to prove anyone who disliked the twist wrong, even acknowledging that I sort of understand how one would interpret it another way, since the build-up could have been a lot better. Word of advice, if you're presenting an unpopular opinion, don't try to make yourself look special or try to antagonize those who don't think the same. Doing either is just asking for trouble. I kinda learned that the hard way. And from there, the video was filled with great moments and attributes that I enjoy talking about, and some really solid jokes like Bentley Stallone and Murray dancing to music from Yakuza. In the end, I feel like this was an excellent cap-off to my 4 Sly reviews, culminating all of the series' highest highs. Definitely my favorite solo review that I have done. Sonic the Hedgehog is one of my favorite franchises. Even if opinions on different installments can get all over the place, and even if it's only a matter of time before someone in the room brings up Sonic 06, there's so much I love about it, and I always enjoy bringing it up in my videos, whether it's focused on it or not. So much so that I actually dedicated an entire month plus 1 week to the entire series. 7 years ago. These may be some of the older videos on this list, and thus have plenty about them that hasn't aged well, but these are some of the earliest videos where I began to understand what I truly wanted to do. The first of these, which was about my favorite levels in this series, my first countdown about levels in fact, was a generally fun trip down all the numerous environments Mr. Needlemouse has sped across. The second one, which was about my favorite bosses in this series at the time, was a good step up from my previous bosses list I did at the time, and was a fun visit to some bosses I never talked about until then. I should probably remake that someday. The third one, which covered my least favorite bosses, while I think it is probably the weakest of the 3, especially with my admittedly forced anger in number 1, I still think it was a good piece to accompany the previous one, especially with how dumb the conveyor belt trap room was. And the last one was all my favorite games, covering all of them with this series so appealing to me. Though nowadays I recommend checking out the remake instead. These are the videos that give me the clearest idea for what I want to do with my main content, and since these are still my most viewed videos on my channel, even to this day, I'm willing to bet that these came out at just the right time, especially since when they came out, we knew nothing of Sonic Mania or Forces. Combine that with a fun little video where I and 3 other dedicated Sonic fans thank the entire series for its impact, and the whole month turned out to be a giant passion project that celebrated 25 years of Sonic. And from what I see, bridged the gap between video making as a teenager and video making as a young adult. I don't know if I'll ever do a Sonic Month 2 or another Month of in general, but in regards to Sonic as a whole, I'll always find a way to talk about him in one form or another. After all, his stories only end when he stops running. Birthday videos may be a good excuse to both go big in terms of video scale, and talk about something deeply personal to me. I mean, with the amount of time I had to work on a video for my channel during that time, I want to see how exactly dedicating so much time to a personal topic would go. Aside from this year because of life, I plan to keep this trend going for as long as I can. But no matter what, I'll always love the one that started it all. Top 22 favorite games was a joy to make, not only for replaying games I was super attached to, but also taking time to really consider what I put on there and where, which led to me liking some of the candidates even more, like The Last of Us and Nier Automata. I covered as much of what I liked about each individual game as possible, but in a way where I feel like I wasn't just reusing words others used, let alone words that I myself used in prior videos. I also really like my willingness to go back to my younger days, tying into this video being made on my 22nd birthday, and I still crack a smile at a lot of these jokes. The Spider-Man one in particular was especially endearing. No matter how other birthday projects tend to go, I always think back to this one and how much work I put into it, and how I went even further from there. So much so that I even did a follow-up 3 years later. Yeah, for as big as it ended up being, this was definitely a strong chapter in both my countdown lineup and my overall video lineup. Earlier in the video, I was talking about how much I wish I did more collabs. I mean, there are the difficulties that come with it, but at the same time, collabs can truly be huge moments for anyone, and if my collab with Arrow Dragon on Kingdom Hearts bosses showed me a lot of it, then my collab with Stephanie Sparta reviewing LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga added way more on top of what I already knew. Stephanie and I at this point knew each other for easily over 5 years, even enjoying each other's content back when we first started, but we both happened to take a massive liking towards Star Wars. From the lore to the stories, even down to the plethora of memes, it was something that we could comfortably talk about with each other, which is quite a feat for this franchise. So I figured since I dedicate National Star Wars Day to something from it, why not look at this recent game together? And since the game itself felt like a big culmination of everything great about Star Wars, we did as much as we could to follow suit on that, with the setup of going to a cantina, to all the jokes we came up with either together or on our own. I especially liked using a clip from Rebels as a more wholesome meme, thanking my brother for all the multiplayer footage, thank you again buddy, and the ending segment where Alex Roshan and Neko Noel cameoed as Stormtroopers. Thank you to both of you too! But these moments didn't outright take over the video. We covered as much as we could from top to bottom, and had various points bounce off each other, especially given that we played the game on different consoles. I'm also happy she and I were also willing to get this done within the course of a month. Since Skywalker Saga came out approximately a month before National Star Wars Day that year, I'm glad both of us at least finished all the episodes, got a sizable amount of the exploration done, wrote a script that let us say what we wanted to, yet also acknowledge each other, and make a fitting meme whenever necessary, and recorded and everything all within that time frame. So really, this was another happy landing. I'd honestly love to work with Stephanie again someday. Maybe we could find another Star Wars game or something else to cover. I don't know. Time for honorable mentions! Top 10 favorite games of 2019, my second favorite games of the year video. I was so excited to talk about a lot of these and how awesome of a year 2019 was for video games. My review of Shaq Fu: A Legend Reborn. I may have lost a bet and not enjoyed the game, but I definitely enjoyed giving it a negative review. Honestly, I think negative reviews are more enjoyable when they are surrounded by mostly positive ones, and you don't generally force anger. My top 10 favorite Sonic games, 30th Anniversary Edition. I think this is vastly superior to the original, and I definitely loved celebrating Sonic's 30th with this. I just think the original Sonic month is more of a landmark for this channel. A tie between my Smash Ultimate Corrin and Pikachu montages. These were some of the most fun videos to edit on my channel, and I feel like I did them both justice. Pikachu admittedly does have the advantage of being in my true main, but Corrin has the advantage of footage in the Min Ultimate being scarce, and that amazing last third where they got buffed in the Min Min patch. I don't see that happening again for a long time. And finally, top 15 Platinum Games boss battles. One of the most fun boss battle videos I've ever done, and a good celebration of Platinum's legacy. Even if it going public 2 weeks before the Helena Taylor debacle was a case of extremely bad luck. I've made videos that increase my confidence in this hobby and my own personal opinions, videos that were just a blast to make from start to finish, and videos where I was happy with how I presented myself. This one not only combines all three, but it's probably the best example I can present when I say, I'm glad I did all this, despite it being a video not made long ago. So, let me show you all my Pokemans. Putting one of my birthday countdowns at number 1 was probably a safe choice, but even in that regard, I feel like this was the one that showcased everything that I enjoyed about them. The topic itself was already in the cards for a while, given how Pokemon has been with me all my life, and given that if a countdown maker I watched did that topic, it was more often than not one of my favorite videos from them. Not to mention, this video was also for Pokemon's 25th anniversary, so I felt like if I was going to thank the series in some form during it, that was the time. Working on this definitely had some things going against it, like my personal life, and the fact that my 3DS had trouble recording mainline Pokemon games and DS games for some reason. I did not let any of those slow me down. I loved working on this with all the gameplay footage of Sword and Shield and even Battle Revolution I was able to scrounge up, and all the writing that talked about some obvious picks and a select number of oddballs. I'm super satisfied with how I wrote a ton of these segments, like quoting The Incredibles to describe Mega Metagross, segueing into Garchomp's battle capabilities by saying I'd be terrified if I saw something like that flying towards me, and of course, the Lillipup and Yamper line segments, where I just let my love of cute things show. I also love that Pokerap for my honorable mentions, paying tribute to something old that most people familiar with the series remember. That also took me a while to get right, but it was totally worth it. The descriptions of personal events that happened long ago also added a nice wholesome little dichotomy to the video. This is ultimately a video where I let more than 20 years of my love for Pokemon show, and a great tribute to an amazing series for its 25th anniversary. And when I look back on this, I don't just get a feeling of satisfaction. I don't just feel proud of myself. I feel like I truly accomplished something purely by just being myself. And to me, that's a lot better than just making a really awesome video. I'm Lightning Ripper. Special thanks to Bob Behind and Anonymous Donor for their donations to my Play Laugh campaign, and you know what? No. I would much prefer to do this on camera. I want to use the last few moments of this video to say thank you to everyone who inspired this channel. The content creators who ignite my passion for this hobby, those that I collaborated with along the way, the artists I've commissioned, those who gave their feedback to help me improve my writing, my friends, and just all those who tuned in. This truly does mean a lot to me, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been an absolute pleasure to keep this going for so long. I'm not sure how much longer I'll be doing this since my life is taking more and more of a priority, but I will find every opportunity I can just to keep doing what I'm doing and just entertain you all. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time.